Sanalark is established in 2002. It's a knowledge-centric, process-driven practice, and we've been focusing on civic and civil projects since the very beginning, regardless from the scales.
The excitement, that's actually how you get inclusive design, is by listening to a lot of different points of view and a lot of different transdisciplinary design. But when we say multidisciplinary or collaborate, we also can include like the citizen designer and communities that we work with, as well as the different aspirations of current and future users. But I think coming back, that knowledge-centric allows you for an iterative project, not a deterministic project, where you work with a set of parameters, and through that collaboration, you are constantly recalibrating the work to be better and better and more informed and more informed. So I think the architectural research in city design is very straightforward. It's architecture, research, and city design, and both in terms of looking at architecture as a piece of the city and looking at the city as a living thing, and researching a lot of the different disciplines that go into both extremes.
And it's important to keep all of them separate and in dynamic links to be able to impact each other, because city design subjects are actually not larger architectural tasks.
In 2002, they've always been a leader in their sector, and so we always look forward to working with them on all of our projects. But the most exciting engagement that we've had is always in their efforts to advance the design field and especially the profession of architecture. And some of the best experiences I've had in that community have been through their Çağdaş Mimarlık Dizisi that they held for a series of years. And the leadership was really exciting because the motivation was to mentor and support the next generation of curators, as well as look into topics that the architecture field leads: housing, education, production. And we've had the opportunity to participate in the first one with Said Ali, who looked at production in his Happiness Factory, as well as with Şebnem in education, where we looked at this idea of the ephemeral library, that once you remove the need for storage of the library's function, then what is the role of the library other than to support the reader in a set of content? And although that series has ended, Vitra continues to do some really pioneering work advancing the community of design and architecture, as well as getting better at their material science research for vitrification.
The Şişhane project has many layers, obviously, because it's right by an ancient city of Galata, which is a Genoese city with a Waldorf Genoese district. And fortunately, it was just at the borders of the city, walls of the city, and from that border of that city, which remained for a long time as a border of the city, and there was a leftover space or cut topography, so we tried to connect that to its grander topography, which is Genovesan hillside deep to the depth of the Haliç. So number one was that, and creating the pleasant moments for looking into the depth of the history and being able to capture moments of the famous Seven Hills of Istanbul. We were able to capture from the hill number 3 and the rest of them with Ottoman monuments. And the materiality came very early on, because it's of its rich environment. We treat it as an urban design project, not as an architecture project actually. And there were some urban design issues or city design issues which the greater city of Istanbul, İBB, had set forward as a brief. Before we get into the old town, we have to create a big park. We have to solve the big parking, so to take the cars out of the city, because the old cities are not designed for cars. So it's a very successful policy, and we actually applied their policy to the best of our knowledge with our architecture design knowledge. That's one thing, but the cityscape part of Şişhane Park is a completely city design task to celebrate the architecture in and around it.
The idea of collaboration and co-creation does seem very sloppy, and one of the projects that we have been very surprised by, which is crowdsourcing the urban design guideline, that we thought if we had 100 voices and 100 art practices participating, it would be very hard to find a holistic sense of purpose and beauty, and actually quite the opposite. You could hear why people find Istanbul so beautiful. You could hear the voice of the city, and it is through that cacophony of differences and aesthetics. And it's not about combining them, and it's about celebrating them in their kind of individuality, but then when you hear them together, there's a composition that goes beyond any individual part. So that was, we were very intimidated doing it. We did it because we thought that it was, we kind of did it with a sense of purpose, but we were very surprised how exciting the outcome was and went far beyond our expectations of what kind of crowdsourcing and the collective imagination can achieve, which has really motivated us to the next steps of doing that project.